It's very good to come back to McCall School. We live 2 blocks away, and for my 4 children spent a good part of their elementary education here, and my wife and I were involved with the Parents Association and would come here for activities. But I must say I haven't been back here for quite a long time. I was happy to see the bear still here. I remember its disappearance and reappearance. It's what, a couple of decades ago. But in any case, when I spoke with or learned from your principal, I was asked to come and speak here. They suggested that I talk about my kind of career in science, and then something about work that I've done and some of the consequences, some of the results of that research. I was very interested in science when I was your age, and I thought I'd do some kind of science or engineering. And when I finally did go to university and college, I studied math and physics. The question is, why were some people susceptible to illness? Why were some people more likely to get ill and others less likely? Now, for any disease, there's a combination of causes. And this applies probably to most diseases, or nearly all. And that is, there are genetic causes, there are environmental causes, that is, things from the outside that impact on the person, and then there are behaviors, the things that people do that affect their likelihood of getting sick. People in different parts of the world are susceptible to different diseases. We decided we'd visit different parts of the world and study this differences, this variation, to be able to prevent a disease, then to, in a way, have a treatment for it. Obviously, we invented the vaccine here in Philadelphia at the Fox Chase Cancer Center, and it was subsequently produced by a big drug company near here, a Merck company that makes vaccines. And it was tested by colleagues in New York City, and the vaccine was shown to be very effective. If they had people who had a lot of exposure to hepatitis, if they had the vaccine, there was 90% of them were protected against subsequent infection. And by the early 1980s, this vaccine was approved by the federal government. Well, then the vaccination program started, and the vaccine is now one of the most commonly used vaccines in the world. I would say all of you have been vaccinated against it. You're young enough to have been in the group into which vaccination was required. And the most dramatic effects were in places like China. Prior to the use of the vaccine, before the vaccine was used in these big vaccination programs, about 10% of the population, 1 out of 10, was infected with the hepatitis B. Led to the saving of several millions of lives. Now, the vaccine is now, as I said, used worldwide, and altogether it probably has resulted in the saving of tens of millions, perhaps hundreds of millions of lives eventually. Well, that, it's rare for scientists to work on what we thought was a basic problem in science. We were curious about what happens in nature. So our original research was driven by curiosity, you might say. But we had the confidence that in time it would lead to a practical result. It's very good to do research that's based on curiosity, to kind of understand the natural world, understand the world we live in, and in medicine that often leads to in medical research brings to life-saving and by prevention and to treatment. Well, I think I'll stop here.
And as a class, the 4 classes that I've taught, we've come up with some questions.
How do you minimize the virus for your vaccines?
Yeah, a good question. There are various ways of making a vaccine. And one of the ways is to take a vaccine and attenuate it, usually by passing it through growth in tissue culture multiple times, or sometimes by animal inoculation. And then you develop a strain of the virus that doesn't have any disease-causing effects, but it does protect against it.
Have you done any other research on infectious diseases?
During the course of studying the hepatitis B virus, we wanted to understand how it interacts with other infectious agents. So we did study malaria, other kinds of hepatitis. We had some interest in HIV. Those are the things like schistosomiasis.
Maybe along those same lines, there was a lot of students that said, as we were coming up with questions, they said, well, I want to be the next Nobel Prize winner. Is there any advice that you could give to these students that maybe they could go along a similar path and give another contribution to our world, such as yours?
It's probably not a good idea to start off with that kind of a goal, since possibly you may be disappointed someplace along the line. But it is important to take your life seriously. To understand that you have the capability of doing big things, and you can call the Nobel Prize one of them. But also just to contribute in a variety of ways. So your life's important, and you want to prepare yourself primarily through education, kind of a serious outlook on what you want to do, what you want to become, and then in time, that will be rewarded. I suppose not always, but a good part of the time. So again, take life seriously.
That's good advice. I just have a few things to say. I want to first of all thank you so much for coming to our school today. This has been a wonderful opportunity for us to learn from our Nobel Prize winner. Someone who saved millions of lives right here in our school. It's an amazing thing. And, it shows what you can do. It shows what you as students can do. Your success is unimaginable. So once again, I'd like to thank Dr. Blumberg for coming.
All the good questions, well thought out questions, and for your attention. We're very impressed about people who sort of listened to what was going on. So thank you.
Thank you so much for being with us. I'd like to thank Mr. Knopflicek and again all of you students for your attention and your preparation. And you never know, maybe one of you will be the next Nobel Prize winner at some point in your life. So that message was really clear. And science is so important to us. And it's a big initiative here at McCall School. Dr. Blumberg, I'm not sure that you're aware, but we've had this initiative about science is elementary, and our Coleman School is in the process of raising funds to upgrade our science lab. And so it's really critical for us that we focus on those things as we enter society. It's so important. And many of you are excellent scientists and mathematicians. And so we count on you to work hard as you enter the next phase in your lives. And you never know what things you can produce and invent. So thank you. And thank you for being here with us this morning.